Three sides to every tale we tell. The truth is here, it's ringing bells.
Welcome to Deep Dive Listen. Today we're going to crack open The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene.
Oh yeah, this one is packed with insights about, what makes us tick.
Our motivations and behaviors, even those parts we try to hide.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating exploration of the psychology, behind why we do the things we do.
So Greene doesn't shy away from those less than flattering aspects of human nature, like those darker impulses that we try to ignore.
Right.
So let's just jump right in. Greene talks about this concept of the shadow, which sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah.
What is he getting at with that?
Well, it's not about being secretly evil or anything like that.
Okay.
Just think of it as those repressed desires and impulses that we all have kind of lurking beneath the surface. They might emerge under stress or when our guard is down.
Okay, so those times when we react in a way that even surprises us.
Exactly. And Greene suggests that people with these seemingly exaggerated traits like excessive niceness or being extremely rigid might actually be overcompensating for something hidden in their shadow.
Interesting. So it's like they're trying to mask those hidden impulses with an overly exaggerated persona.
Yeah, they're trying to mask it. Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
How do we actually spot these shadow tendencies, both in ourselves and in others? I mean, it's not like we're walking around with a big S on our foreheads.
Right. Well, one way is to pay attention to inconsistencies between a person's words and actions.
Okay.
For example, let's say you're dealing with someone who's always boasting about their accomplishments, but their actual performance doesn't quite match up.
Yeah.
Greene would suggest that discrepancy could be a sign of some deep-seated insecurity that they're trying to mask.
Oh, so it's like looking for those cracks in the facade, those moments when their true self peeks through.
Precisely. Another clue is to observe how people behave under pressure. Stress often brings those shadow traits to the surface.
Yeah.
So you think about someone who's usually calm and collected, but then completely loses it during a stressful project. That's a prime example of the shadow emerging.
That makes a lot of sense. Like those pressure cooker situations, they kind of reveal what's really bubbling beneath the surface.
Right.
So this is where it gets really powerful. Greene argues that recognizing the shadow, both in ourselves and others, gives us a significant advantage.
Yes.
What kind of advantage?
Well, it's like having a secret decoder ring for human behavior.
Oh.
We can start to see those underlying motivations that are driving people's actions. This allows us to predict behavior, understand hidden motives, and avoid getting caught in destructive patterns.
Okay, that's huge. It's like we're gaining this deeper level of understanding about what makes people pick.
Right.
And that knowledge can be invaluable in all sorts of situations, from personal relationships to professional negotiation.
Absolutely.
Now that we're talking about reading people, Greene also delves into the importance of nonverbal communication, right?
Absolutely. He dedicates a whole section to this, emphasizing how much we can glean from people's body language.
Yeah.
Facial expressions and tone of voice. Our bodies are constantly sending signals, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
So it's like there's this whole hidden language that we're speaking without even realizing it.
Exactly. A fleeting look of displeasure before someone puts on their, affable mask can be more revealing than their words. Or those subtle eye rolls during a heated discussion. Those are dead giveaways that something else is going on beneath the surface.
Okay, this is starting to feel like a superpower. But seriously, how can we use this knowledge of nonverbal cues in our everyday lives?
Well, one way is to gauge how receptive someone is to your ideas.
Okay.
You look for signs of comfort and agreement, like leaning in, uncrossed arms, and genuine smiles. On the other hand, clenched fists, furrowed brows, and avoiding eye contact could signal resistance or disagreement.
So it's like we're becoming more attuned to those subtle signals that people are sending, even if they're not saying it out loud.
Exactly. You're picking up on those nonverbal cues and adapting your approach accordingly.
I like it.
Another fascinating nonverbal cue to watch for is mirroring.
Mirroring.
That unconscious imitation of someone's body language.
Okay.
This can be a powerful indicator of a strong connection, suggesting that people are on the same wavelength and feel comfortable with each other.
This is all so fascinating. Okay, let's dive into some specific personality types that Greene explores in detail. He talks about those larger-than-life figures, the grandiose types.
Yes.
Who often rise to positions of power. What makes these personalities so captivating?
Well, Greene argues that they're masters at creating illusions that tap into our deep-seated desire for a strong leader.
Okay.
They project an aura of destiny as if they were born for greatness,
Uh-huh.
often crafting a myth around themselves that people are naturally drawn to.
Yeah, it's like they're creating a personal brand built on this idea of exceptionalism.
Exactly. And it can be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. These grandiose types can also be dangerous.
Okay.
Their need for admiration and control can lead to all sorts of problems if left unchecked. It's important to be aware of their tactics and not get swept up in their allure.
So how do we avoid falling under their spell? What are some red flags to watch out for?
Well, one tactic they often use is connecting with the masses even if they come from a privileged background.
Okay.
They might downplay their wealth or status, emphasizing shared values and experiences with ordinary people to disarm people and build trust.
So it's like they're trying to create this image of being one of the people, despite their elite status.
Precisely. It's all part of the carefully crafted persona they present to the world. We need to be aware of these tactics and look beyond the surface charm to assess their actions, not just their words.
Okay. I'm definitely making mental note of that. Now, Greene also offers a surprising perspective on aggression, right?
Yeah,
He doesn't necessarily see it as a negative force.
absolutely.
Really?
He argues that the problem isn't aggression itself, but how we handle it.
Okay.
In fact, he suggests that this energy, when channeled correctly, can be incredibly productive. Think about creative thinkers. They have to be aggressive in their pursuit of new ideas, challenging conventional wisdom, and pushing boundaries.
That's a great point. It takes a certain level of assertiveness and drive to bring new ideas to life and make a real impact.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what Greene encourages us to do, become aware of our own aggression and those subtle ways we might try to control or dominate others.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about suppressing this powerful energy, but rather understanding it, taming it, and ultimately using it for good.
That's such a different perspective on aggression than what we usually hear.
Mm.
It's empowering to think about how we can actually use this energy for good.
Right?
Now, are you ready to shift gears a bit and explore a topic that might resonate deeply with you? Our relationship with time.
Sure.
I think we can all relate to those anxieties about time slipping away, especially as we get older. What insights does Greene offer on this?
Well, he acknowledges those anxieties about aging, generational shifts, and the relentless march of time.
Yeah.
But he also offers a powerful antidote, embracing what he calls an immortality project.
An immortality project. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this. What does it look like in practice?
It can take many forms. It could be a creative endeavor, a business you build, a family you raise, a cause you dedicate yourself to, or even just the knowledge and wisdom you pass on to others.
Okay.
It's about finding meaning and purpose beyond your own limited lifespan, contributing to something that will continue to have an impact after you're gone.
Wow, that's a powerful concept. It's like we're finding a way to transcend our own mortality by contributing to something that will live on.
Right.
And Greene argues that embracing this idea can be incredibly fulfilling. It gives us a sense of purpose and direction, even as we face the inevitable realities of aging and the passage of time.
Absolutely.
I love that. It's about shifting our perspective from fear and anxiety to one of purpose and meaning. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already, from the shadow to nonverbal cues to grandiosity and our relationship with time. I feel like my brain is bursting with new insights. I can't wait to dive in and explore more. But first, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good. So now let's delve into a concept that Greene calls the court.
Of the court.
It's a fascinating way to kind of look at the power dynamics that shape our social interactions.
Oh, wait, I'm not really picturing it. Are we talking like kings and queens and royal decrees?
Not literally, no. Think of it more metaphorically. Greene uses the term court to describe any environment where power dynamics and hierarchies are at play.
Okay.
It could be a corporate office, a social clique, even a family gathering.
Right.
There's always this subtle dance of influence happening with people kind of vying for attention, status, or control.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've all experienced those situations where there's a clear pecking order, even if it's not, like, explicitly stated.
Right.
So how do we navigate these courts effectively without losing ourselves in the game?
Well, Greene outlines several key archetypes that often emerge in these court settings. Recognizing these can be incredibly helpful in understanding the players and their motives.
Archetypes.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
those classic characters we see in myths and stories.
Absolutely. One fascinating archetype is the jester.
Okay.
We often think of them as simply the comedic relief, but their role is much more nuanced than that.
Okay.
They use humor to kind of challenge the status quo, pointing out absurdities and exposing hypocrisy.
So like truth tellers in disguise, using humor as a shield.
Exactly. And because they're often perceived as non-threatening, they can get away with saying things that others wouldn't dare to utter. They can wield a surprising amount of influence by subtly shifting perspectives and challenging those in power.
Yeah, it's like they have this special kind of immunity, using humor to disarm and deflect.
Right.
That's brilliant. What other archetypes do we need to be aware of in these court settings?
Well, another one to watch out for is the stirrer.
The stir.
They thrive on drama and conflict, often creating chaos and tension for their own amusement or personal gain.
So they're like the puppet masters behind the scenes, pulling the strings and watching the drama unfold.
Precisely. Their motives can be complex, but their actions often disrupt the established order, whether intentionally or not. It's important to recognize their tactics and avoid getting caught in their web of manipulation.
Okay, I'm making a mental note to steer clear of the stirs. Who else should we have on our radar?
Well, then there's the mirror. They're masters at reading people and adapting their behavior to charm and flatter. They're like social chameleons, blending in seamlessly by reflecting back what others want to see.
It sounds like they could be incredibly persuasive,
Yes.
but also potentially dangerous if their motives are less than pure.
Yeah.
How do we avoid being manipulated by these mirrors?
It's all about being aware of their tactics.
Okay.
They often prey on our insecurities and need for validation. So cultivating a strong sense of self-worth can be our best defense. Pay attention to whether their actions align with their words, and don't be afraid to question their motives.
Ooh, okay, that makes sense. It's like we need to develop our own internal radar to detect those subtle manipulations.
Right.
So now that we've got a sense of the players in the court, what strategies does Greene offer for navigating these complex dynamics effectively?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of becoming a master observer. It's about tuning into those unspoken rules, the power dynamics, and the personalities at play.
So it's like becoming a social anthropologist, studying the behaviors and motivations of the tribe, so to speak.
Exactly. Once you start honing those observation skills, you'll be amazed by how much you can learn about the people you interact with. You'll begin to see the subtle cues and signals that reveal their true intentions.
It's like gaining a secret decoder ring for human behavior.
Right.
What other strategies does Greene recommend?
He stresses the importance of emotional control.
Okay.
Our emotions can be our biggest betrayers in these court settings.
That makes sense. It's easy to get caught up in the drama and let our emotions cloud our judgment.
Exactly. Greene argues that when we react emotionally, we give away our power and make ourselves vulnerable to manipulation. It's about developing that emotional intelligence, learning to manage our reactions and respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively.
It's like mastering those emotional triggers that tend to push our buttons
Right.
so we can stay calm and collected under pressure. What other gems of wisdom does Greene offer?
Well, he also suggests cultivating a sense of detachment.
Detachment.
This doesn't mean becoming aloof or indifferent, but rather not getting overly invested in the outcomes of social situations.
So it's about not taking things too personally and maintaining a certain level of emotional distance.
Precisely. When we become too attached to outcomes, we open ourselves up to disappointment and manipulation. It's about playing the game strategically, but not getting so caught up in it that we lose ourselves.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these strategies can help us navigate those tricky social situations with more grace and resilience. What other advice does Greene offer?
He also suggests learning to disguise your intentions.
Disguise our intentions.
Now, this isn't about being deceitful, but rather being strategic in how you present yourself and your ideas.
So it's about being mindful of how our actions are perceived by others,
Right.
not tipping our hand too soon.
Exactly. Especially in those court settings where power dynamics are at play, it's often wise to avoid revealing your true motives prematurely. Assess the situation, read the room, and then carefully craft your approach.
Okay, that's a valuable tip. It's like we're playing chess thinking several moves ahead.
Right.
What other strategies does Greene recommend for mastering the game of social dynamics?
He emphasizes the importance of building a network of alliances.
Okay.
Cultivate relationships with those who can support your goals and offer valuable insights.
So it's like creating a team of allies, a support system that can help us navigate the complexities of the court.
Precisely. And remember, Alliances can shift and change over time, so stay adaptable and strategic in how you cultivate those relationships.
Yeah, it's a dynamic dance, constantly reassessing the social landscape and adjusting our strategy accordingly. What's the final piece of advice Greene offers?
Master the art of timing. Knowing when to act, when to speak up, and when to hold back is crucial in these court settings.
Okay.
A well-timed move can be incredibly effective, while a poorly timed one can backfire spectacularly.
So it's like we're waiting for the right moment to make our move, like a surfer waiting for the perfect wave.
Exactly. Mastering timing requires patience, observation, and a deep understanding of the social currents at play.
This is all so insightful. I'm starting to see how these strategies can be applied not just in those formal court settings, but in all sorts of social situations.
Absolutely.
Now, are you ready to tackle a topic that can be a bit uncomfortable to discuss?
Sure.
Let's talk about envy.
Okay.
That green-eyed monster we all try to keep hidden away.
Yeah.
I'm a bit apprehensive, but yes, let's dive in.
Well, Greene argues that envy is a natural human emotion,
Okay.
rooted in our desire for status and recognition. It's not about judging ourselves for feeling envious, but rather understanding its root causes and learning to manage it constructively.
That makes sense. We all experience those pangs of envy from time to time, even if we'd rather not admit it. So how can we turn this potentially destructive emotion into something positive?
Well, when we see others achieving success, it can actually inspire us to work harder and strive for our own goals.
Okay.
It's like their achievements become a benchmark, a reminder of what's possible.
So it's about shifting our perspective from resentment to inspiration, using their success as fuel for our own growth.
Exactly. But of course, there's a delicate balance. Greene also cautions against letting envy consume us,
Right.
which can lead to a spiral of negativity and self-doubt.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap?
It starts with becoming aware of the warning signs of envy,
Okay.
both in ourselves and others.
Mhm.
Negative gossip is a big one.
So those behind-the-back conversations where people tear down others and revel in their misfortunes.
Precisely. It's often a sign of repressed envy.
Right.
Those who are secretly envious, trying to bring others down to make themselves feel better.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like they're trying to diminish the accomplishments of others to boost their own fragile egos.
Right.
What other warning signs should we be on the lookout for?
Oh, backhanded compliments are another red flag. Those seemingly nice remarks that actually have a subtle sting to them.
Like, oh, you got that promotion. Must be nice to have so much free time now.
Exactly. They're trying to disguise their envy as praise. But those subtle digs can be incredibly effective in undermining someone's confidence.
Yeah, it's passive-aggressive and sneaky, but also pretty common, unfortunately.
Yes.
Any other red flags we should be aware of?
Watch out for sudden changes in behavior. People who were once supportive might become distant or cold towards us after we've experienced some success.
Okay.
It's possible their envy has been triggered and they're struggling to cope with those feelings.
That can be incredibly hurtful, especially if it's coming from someone we considered a friend.
Right.
It's like a betrayal of trust.
Another sign to be aware of is false praise. Those compliments that sound insincere or even sarcastic, it's like they're trying to appear supportive while secretly hoping we'll fail.
So it's important to trust our gut instincts. If a compliment doesn't feel genuine, it probably isn't.
Exactly. And finally, watch out for competitive mimicry. This is when someone tries to copy our style, our ideas, or even our lifestyle in an attempt to one-up us.
Oh, wow.
They're so focused on outdoing us that they lose sight of their own authentic self.
It's like they're so consumed by envy that they're trying to become us instead of being themselves.
Right. Now that we know what to watch out for, let's explore some strategies for managing our own envy and dealing with envious people.
Okay, give me the tools to slay this green-eyed monster.
Well, Greene suggests cultivating a mindset of abundance.
Abundance.
Yeah.
You mean believing there's enough success and happiness to go around for everyone?
Exactly. Scarcity thinking, the belief that there's a limited amount of resources and opportunities, is often at the root of envy. When we operate from a mindset of abundance, we can genuinely celebrate the success of others without feeling threatened.
It's like we're all on the same team, working towards collective success rather than competing for scraps.
Right.
What else can we do to combat those envious feelings?
Focus on your own unique strengths and talents.
Okay.
When you're clear about your own value and contribution, you're less likely to feel threatened by the success of others.
So it's about recognizing our own special sauce.
Right.
Those things that make us stand out from the crowd and investing in developing those talents.
Precisely. Celebrate your own achievements and focus on becoming the best version of yourself, rather than comparing yourself to others. It's also crucial to set healthy boundaries with envious people.
Right, we don't have to tolerate envious or toxic behavior from anyone.
Exactly. Protect your emotional well-being by limiting your exposure to those who might bring you down. Be selective about who you share your successes with, and surround yourself with people who genuinely want to see you thrive.
It's like creating a circle of support, a positive force field to deflect those negative vibes. Any other tips for dealing with envy?
Greene suggests cultivating a sense of gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
So we're talking about counting our blessings, focusing on all the good things in our lives, rather than dwelling on what we lack.
Exactly. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to envy. When we appreciate what we have, we're less likely to covet what others possess.
It's about shifting our perspective from lack to abundance,
Right.
recognizing that we already have so much to be thankful for. Okay, now I'm ready to dive into another fascinating personality type. Who's up next on our exploration of Greene's archetypes?
Let's talk about the seductive types.
Okay.
Those individuals who possess a certain magnetism and allure, who seem to effortlessly draw others in.
Okay.
But as Greene points out, seduction is about much more than just physical attraction.
So it's not just about looks or charm.
Right.
There's something deeper at play.
Exactly. He suggests that true seduction is about understanding and manipulating the desires and weaknesses of others.
Oh.
It's about knowing how to push those emotional buttons that make people feel drawn to us.
Okay, sounds a bit dangerous, like a superpower that could be used for good or evil.
It certainly can be, which is why it's so important to understand how seduction works, both to protect ourselves from manipulation and to use it ethically if we choose to.
So tell me, what qualities do these seductive types possess? What makes them so magnetic?
Well, one of the most important qualities is the ability to create an aura of mystery. They don't reveal too much about themselves, keeping people guessing and wanting more.
It's like they're a puzzle that others are eager to solve.
Precisely. And that air of mystery can be incredibly alluring, leaving others intrigued and wanting to learn more. They're like a blank canvas onto which people can project their own fantasies and desires.
Okay, so a little bit of mystery goes a long way.
Huh.
What other qualities do these seductive types have in their arsenal?
They're masters at making others feel special and understood. They have a knack for making people feel like they're the only person in the room, like they're truly seen and heard.
So they're tapping into that deep human need for connection and validation,
Yeah,
making us feel valued and important.
exactly. And they do it with such sincerity and charm that it's hard to resist.
What other qualities contribute to their seductive aura?
They exude confidence and self-assurance. They're comfortable in their own skin, and that makes others feel comfortable around them.
So it's not about arrogance, but rather a genuine self-belief that draws others in.
Precisely. Their confidence can be contagious, inspiring us to be more confident in ourselves.
Confidence is key. What else?
They also have a playful and adventurous spirit.
Okay.
They're not afraid to take risks, try new things, and bring a sense of excitement and spontaneity to their interactions.
So they're shaking things up,
Right,
breaking free from the mundane,
right,
and reminding us that life can be an adventure.
exactly. That's incredibly seductive, especially for those who are feeling bored or uninspired.
Okay, I'm starting to get a clearer picture of what makes these seductive types so captivating. Now I'm curious to see how they operate in real-life situations. Does Greene offer any historical or contemporary examples?
Absolutely. Let's start with a classic example of seduction in action, Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, the legendary Egyptian queen. What made her such a master of seduction?
Well, she was renowned for her beauty, intelligence, and charisma. She was a master of captivating men,
Yeah.
using her charm to achieve her political goals.
So she was using her seduction skills to gain power and influence
Right.
rather than just for personal gain.
Exactly. She understood the power of creating an aura of mystery and allure. She was also a master of playing to the egos of powerful men, making them feel special and desired.
Yeah, it sounds like she had a deep understanding of human psychology, recognizing those primal desires that drive our behavior.
Precisely. And she wasn't afraid to use her sexuality as a weapon, strategically wielding her allure to get what she wanted.
Wow, that's fascinating. What other examples of seduction does Greene offer?
Well, let's take a look at a more contemporary example. The art of salesmanship.
Salesmanship. So we're talking about those smooth-talking individuals who can convince us to buy anything, even if we don't really need it.
Exactly. And Greene argues that great salespeople are often masters of seduction.
Really?
They understand our desires, our insecurities, and our emotional triggers.
Okay.
And they use that knowledge to influence our buying decisions.
It's like they're reading our minds, figuring out how to appeal to our deepest needs and wants.
Precisely. And they're often incredibly skilled at building rapport and creating a sense of trust, which makes us more likely to buy from
So
them.
it's not just about pushing a product, it's about creating a connection
Right.
and building a relationship.
Exactly. Now, of course, seduction can be a powerful tool, but it's important to recognize the potential dangers as well.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Precisely. Greene cautions against using seduction for unethical or manipulative purposes. He emphasizes that it's about wielding this power responsibly, being mindful of the impact our actions have on others.
So it's about using our influence for good rather than exploiting others for personal gain.
Exactly. And it's also important to be aware of those who might use seduction for their own selfish ends.
So what red flags should we be on the lookout for?
Pay attention to anyone who seems too eager to please,
Okay.
who showers you with compliments and attention that feel insincere or overwhelming. Be wary of those who try to isolate you from your support system or who pressure you into making decisions you're not comfortable with.
It's about trusting our gut instincts. If something feels off, it probably is.
Exactly. And remember, you always have the right to say no, to set boundaries, and to walk away from any situation that feels manipulative or uncomfortable.
Now, I'm curious to explore another fundamental aspect of human nature,
Hmm.
our relationship with conformity.
The age-old struggle between fitting in and standing out.
Right.
Greene argues that conformity is deeply ingrained in us,
Okay.
rooted in our need for belonging and security.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
I mean, we're social creatures after all.
Exactly. Conformity can be beneficial in creating social cohesion and order. Think of those unspoken rules and social norms that help us navigate the complexities of human interaction.
Yeah, it's like a social lubricant, helping things run smoothly.
Precisely. However, Greene also cautions against letting conformity stifle our individuality and creativity.
So it's about finding that balance between honoring social norms and expressing our unique selves.
Exactly. And he offers some helpful strategies for navigating that tension.
Okay.
One of the most important is simply becoming aware of the subtle ways we conform without even realizing it.
So it's about waking up from that social slumber,
Right.
becoming more conscious of the forces that are shaping our thoughts and actions.
Exactly. Once you're aware of those unconscious patterns of conformity, you can start making more deliberate choices about how you engage with the world.
So it's about reclaiming our agency, our power to choose how we want to live and express ourselves.
Right. He also suggests finding your tribe, those people who share your values and interests, where you feel a genuine sense of belonging.
Yeah, that makes sense. We all need those safe spaces where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment.
Precisely. And when we find those like-minded souls, we can support each other's growth and express ourselves more authentically.
It's like finding our home team, our cheerleading squad in the game of life.
Right. Greene also encourages cultivating a rebellious spirit.
A rebellious spirit.
Not in a destructive sense, but rather in a way that challenges the status quo and encourages independent thinking.
So it's about questioning those norms and beliefs that don't serve us
Right.
and forging our own path.
Exactly. Be curious, be skeptical, and don't be afraid to challenge those assumptions that have simply been accepted without critical examination.
Yeah, it's about waking up our minds and becoming active participants in shaping our own beliefs and values.
Right. And finally, he suggests creating your own unique style, a way of expressing your individuality through your clothing, your home decor, your creative pursuits.
So it's about finding that visual representation of our inner selves,
Right.
a way of communicating who we are to the world.
Precisely. Your style becomes a reflection of your personality, a way of differentiating yourself from the crowd and celebrating your unique essence.
Okay, so we've got some practical strategies for navigating this dance between conformity and individuality.
Yes.
Now, I'm curious to see how these concepts play out in real life. Does Greene offer any examples?
Absolutely. Let's start with a historical figure who defied the pressures of conformity and forged her own path. Coco Chanel.
Coco Chanel, the iconic fashion designer. Tell me more about her rebellious spirit.
Well, Chanel revolutionized the fashion world by challenging the restrictive norms of her time. She rejected the corsets and elaborate gowns that were popular in the early 20th century, opting for simple, elegant designs that allowed women to move freely.
So she was not just a fashion designer, but a social revolutionary, using her creations to challenge those traditional gender roles.
Exactly. Her designs reflected a shift in social attitudes,
Yeah.
a move towards greater freedom and self-expression for women.
And she became an icon because she dared to be different, to express her own unique vision, even when it went against the grain.
Precisely. And that's the power of embracing our individuality. We inspire others to do the same.
Now, what other examples does Greene offer to illustrate these concepts?
Well, let's look at the world of art.
Okay.
Great artists often have a rebellious spirit, a willingness to question the established norms and traditions. They push boundaries and challenge us to see the world in new ways.
So it's not just about technical skill, it's about that creative spark, that willingness to break the mold.
Exactly. And that's what makes art so exciting and inspiring. It has the power to awaken our senses and expand our minds.
Yeah, it's like a mirror reflecting back to us the infinite possibilities of human creativity and expression.
Right. But of course, navigating conformity and individuality can be challenging.
Of course. So what pitfalls should we watch out for?
Well, Greene cautions against going to extremes in either direction. Don't become a mindless follower of the crowd, but also avoid becoming a contrarian, just for the sake of being different.
So it's not about blindly following trends or rebelling against everything. It's about finding our own authentic expression.
Exactly. Stay true to yourself and let your actions and choices reflect your genuine values and beliefs.
Okay, that's a good reminder to check in with ourselves and make sure we're not just following the crowd or trying to fit into a box that doesn't feel right.
Right. Now let's delve into another fascinating and sometimes challenging aspect of human nature, our relationship with grandiosity.
Grandiosity. So we're talking about those feelings of superiority and self-importance, that inflated sense of ego that can sometimes lead us astray.
Exactly. Greene argues that grandiosity is a natural part of the human experience,
Okay.
rooted in our desire for status and recognition. We all have those impulses, those moments when we feel superior or self-important.
Yeah, it's like that inner voice that whispers, I'm special, I'm better, I deserve more.
Precisely. And to a certain extent, that's healthy. It fuels our ambition and drives us to achieve our goals.
Right.
But as with most things in life, it's about finding that balance.
So how do we keep our egos in check without completely squashing that spark of ambition and self-belief?
Well, Greene offers several helpful strategies for managing our grandiose impulses.
Okay.
It starts with developing a strong sense of self-awareness.
So it's about recognizing those moments when our egos are getting a little too inflated,
Right.
when we're letting that sense of superiority take over.
Exactly. Pay attention to those subtle signs of grandiosity, such as name-dropping, bragging, interrupting others, or dismissing feedback.
Yeah, it's about catching ourselves in those moments when we're being a bit too self-absorbed
Right.
and making a conscious choice to dial it back.
Precisely. Another helpful strategy is cultivating a sense of humor about ourselves.
Humor. So it's about not taking ourselves too seriously, being able to laugh at our own foibles and mistakes.
Exactly. Humor is a powerful antidote to grandiosity. When we can laugh at ourselves, we're less likely to get caught up in those feelings of self-importance.
It's like we're popping those inflated balloons of ego with a well-timed joke.
Precisely. It creates a more lighthearted and balanced perspective, reminding us that we're all human, perfectly imperfect beings.
Okay, I'm all for injecting a bit more humor into my life. What else can we do to tame those grandiose impulses?
Greene also suggests seeking out honest feedback from others.
Ouch. That can be tough to swallow. But I can see how it would be valuable in keeping our egos in check.
It can be a humbling experience, but it's essential for growth.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people who are willing to tell you the truth, even when it's not what you want to hear.
So it's about finding those trusted allies who will offer constructive criticism and help us stay grounded.
Exactly. It's about being open to feedback and recognizing that we can always learn and grow, even from those who might challenge our perspective.
Okay, I'm making a note to myself to be more receptive to feedback, even when it stings a little. What other strategies does Greene offer?
He emphasizes the importance of focusing on the process, not just the outcome.
Okay.
So it's about enjoying the journey rather than getting fixated on achieving a particular result.
So it's about celebrating those small wins along the way.
Exactly. When we're overly focused on outcomes, we can easily become discouraged or disillusioned if things don't go according to plan.
Right.
We might even start to cut corners or compromise our values to achieve that desired result.
So it's about finding joy and satisfaction in the process itself, rather than just chasing after that external validation.
Precisely. It's about aligning our actions with our values and finding fulfillment in the pursuit of our goals, regardless of the outcome.
Okay. I can see how that mindset shift could be incredibly liberating. Now, I'm curious to hear some examples of how grandiosity plays out in real-life situations.
Well, let's start with a historical figure who embodies both the positive and negative aspects of grandiosity. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon. The legendary French emperor. Now that's a grandiose personality.
He certainly was. Napoleon was a brilliant military strategist and a charismatic leader who rose to power during the French Revolution.
Yeah.
He was incredibly ambitious and driven with an unshakable belief in his own destiny.
So he had that classic grandiose personality, that larger-than-life aura that inspires and intimidates in equal measure.
Exactly. And in the early years of his career, that grandiosity served him well. It inspired his troops, intimidated his enemies, and propelled him to victory after victory.
It's like his unwavering self-belief became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Precisely. But as his power grew, so did his ego.
Yeah.
He became increasingly arrogant and isolated,
Yeah?
surrounding himself with yes-men who reinforced his inflated sense of self.
So it's like his grandiosity, which had once been his strength, became his Achilles heel.
Exactly. He lost touch with reality, making reckless decisions that ultimately led to his downfall.
It's a classic cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ego. It's like that saying, pride goes before the fall.
Right. Now, for a more contemporary example of grandiosity, we need look no further than the world of celebrity.
Ah, yes, the land of inflated egos and outsized personalities. What insights does Greene offer on this?
Well, he argues that the world of celebrity is a breeding ground for grandiosity. Celebrities are constantly surrounded by adulation and attention, which can easily inflate their egos.
Oh, that makes sense. It must be difficult to stay grounded when you're constantly being told how amazing and talented you are.
Precisely. And when that grandiosity goes unchecked, it can lead to all sorts of problems, addictions, scandals, and even self-destruction.
Yeah, it's like they lose touch with their true selves, becoming a caricature of their public persona.
Exactly. It's a cautionary tale for all of us, a reminder to stay humble and grounded, even when we're achieving success.
Okay, that's a good reminder to check our egos at the door, no matter what our level of success or fame. Now let's shift gears and explore another fascinating aspect of human nature. Our relationship with rationality. So we're talking about our ability to think logically and make sound decisions based on evidence and reason.
Exactly. And while we like to believe we're rational creatures, Greene argues that we're actually far more irrational than we care to admit.
So you're saying we're not always as logical as we think we are?
Not even close.
Really?
Our emotions, our biases, and our unconscious desires
Abruptly
often
does.
cloud our judgment and lead us down irrational paths.
It's like we're driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake, creating all sorts of internal conflict.
Precisely. And Greene outlines several key cognitive biases that can distort our thinking.
Okay.
One of the most common is confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. So we're talking about that tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, even if it's not accurate or objective.
Exactly.
Wow.
We filter out information that challenges our worldview, creating a self-reinforcing loop of our own biases.
Yeah.
It's like we're living in an echo chamber of our own making.
Right, and that can be incredibly dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It can lead us to make decisions based on faulty information or refuse to consider alternative perspectives.
Precisely. It's essential to be aware of this bias and to actively seek out diverse perspectives,
Okay.
even those that challenge our comfortable assumptions.
So it's about opening our minds, expanding our horizons, and being willing to question what we think we know.
Exactly. Now, another common cognitive bias is the halo effect.
The halo effect. Enlighten me.
It's our tendency to judge people based on our first impressions,
Okay.
even if those impressions are superficial or inaccurate.
So it's like we're putting people into neat little boxes based on a fleeting glimpse, a first impression that might not reflect their true character.
Exactly. And those snap judgments can be incredibly powerful in shaping our interactions with others.
Right.
We might miss out on opportunities or make unfair assumptions based on those initial perceptions.
It's like we're creating self-fulfilling prophecies, treating people according to our preconceived notions of them.
Precisely. It's essential to be aware of the halo effect and to make a conscious effort to get to know people beyond those superficial first impressions.
So it's about giving people a chance, looking beyond those initial judgments and recognizing that we all have hidden depths.
Exactly. Now, another common bias is the sunk cost fallacy.
The sunk cost fallacy.
This is our tendency to stick with a course of action even when it's no longer serving us simply because we've already invested so much time, energy, or money into it.
Oh, so it's like throwing good money after bad, hoping to recoup our losses, even when it's clear we should cut our losses and move on.
Exactly. We become so attached to that initial investment that we're blinded to the reality of the situation.
It's like we're clinging to a sinking ship instead of jumping into a lifeboat.
Precisely. It's essential to be aware of this bias and to be willing to walk away from those investments, whether they be relationships, projects, or beliefs that are no longer serving us.
So it's about recognizing when it's time to cut our losses and move on, even if it's painful in the short term.
Exactly. Now, are you ready for one final provocative thought from Robert Greene?
Bring it on. I'm ready to have my mind blown one last time.
Greene reminds us that the key to understanding human nature is to embrace the idea that we're all works in progress.
So we're not fixed or static beings, but rather constantly evolving and changing, always learning and growing.
Exactly. Life is a journey of self-discovery, a process of continually refining and expanding our understanding of ourselves and others.
It's like we're all on a quest for self-mastery, striving to become the best versions of ourselves, but recognizing that it's an ongoing process.
Precisely. And that journey requires a willingness to embrace our imperfections, to acknowledge our shadow sides, and to continually challenge our assumptions about human nature.
So it's about approaching life with a sense of curiosity and humility, recognizing that there's always more to learn and discover about ourselves and others. We're all students in the school of life.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of exploring these laws of human nature. They offer a framework for understanding ourselves and others more deeply, but they're not a set of rigid rules to be followed blindly. They're tools for self-reflection and growth.
That's a great point. It's about using these insights to navigate the complexities of human interaction with more awareness, empathy, and skill.
Precisely. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature, I'd like to leave you with a few final thoughts.
Okay, I'm all ears. What pearls of wisdom do you have to share?
First, remember that self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth. The more we understand our own motivations, biases, and patterns of behavior, the more effectively we can navigate the world around us.
It's like having a roadmap for our own minds, helping us understand where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process, a journey of continual self-discovery. Don't be afraid to ask yourself tough questions, to explore those shadow sides, and to seek feedback from others. The more we know ourselves, the more effectively we can navigate those complex social dynamics and create a life that aligns with our values.
Okay, that's a powerful reminder to stay curious and keep exploring our inner landscape. What other gems of wisdom do you have to share?
Second, remember that empathy is a superpower. When we can step outside of our own perspective and truly understand the experiences of others, we unlock a whole new level of connection and understanding.
It's like we're building bridges instead of walls, creating a more compassionate and harmonious world.
Precisely. And empathy isn't just about being nice or feeling sorry for others. It's about actively seeking to understand their perspective, their motivations, and their challenges. It's about seeing the world through their eyes, even if we don't agree with their choices or actions.
So it's about cultivating that curiosity and compassion, recognizing that we're all interconnected and that everyone has a story to tell.
Exactly. And that brings me to my final thought. Remember that relationships are everything. The quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives.
That's a powerful statement. So it's not just about understanding human nature in the abstract. It's about applying those insights to create more fulfilling and meaningful connections with others.
Precisely. Invest in your relationships, nurture those bonds, and practice empathy and compassion in your interactions with others. The rewards will be immeasurable.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to wrap up our deep dive into the laws of human nature. I feel like I've gained a whole new toolbox for understanding myself and others and for creating a more fulfilling life.
Remember, knowledge is power, but it's only truly valuable when we apply it to our lives. Take these insights, experiment with them, and see how they can help you navigate the complexities of human interaction with more grace, skill, and wisdom.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to put all of this wisdom into practice.
Right.
And to all our listeners out there, keep those deep dives going.
Welcome to the show we're in. News to share, where to begin. Free sides to every tale we tell. The truth is here, it's ringing bells. Dive in deep, let's take a